Well, Mark, you've written a piece about Cristiano Ronaldo and his ongoing quest for 1,000 goals for club and country. He's on 953 at the moment. When do you expect him to do it? And does the record matter?
Well, when do I expect him to do it? Well, thanks to ESPN's research team, we've worked out in kind of collaboration that at the rate he's going at, the rate he's been scoring goals the last 2 years, that he'll probably do it by late November, early December 2026. So it'll probably be a game in the Saudi Pro League or the Asian Champions League, but it looks like he's on track to do it by, like I said, this time in 12 months. Now, obviously, we don't quite know yet what's going to happen in terms of his World Cup, whether he's going to be suspended for one game, for 2 games, and that will obviously impact on his chance of getting this record in the time frame that we've set. I mean, obviously, he's not going to break it at the World Cup, but that would be a remarkable turn of events if he scores 47 goals between now and the World Cup. But it's Ronaldo, you never know. But does it matter? I mean, of course it does. I mean, 1,000 goals, 1,000 professional goals, that is just... I think Pele did it back in the day, and there's question marks over how reliable the records are because we don't have the same sort of in-depth records that we have nowadays. So to score 1,000 goals in a career, that is just a testament to any player's consistency and dedication. But Ronaldo, particularly, you look at some of the modern day players that are modern day greats, your Harry Kane's, Robert Lewandowski, they're absolutely nowhere near it, and they never will be. Lionel Messi's not far away, but obviously Messi is the only player that can compare with Ronaldo. So I think if he does it, it'd be fantastic. It'd be a big achievement. And people will say, well, it's in the Saudi Pro League. It doesn't quite count. But, we were in the Club World Cup in the summer. I think Al Hilal knocked out Man City. They looked a decent team. I think that the top, 3 or 4 or 5 teams in the Saudi Pro League would hold their own in most European leagues. So the standard isn't that bad. So I think, you have to give him credit. If he does it, it'll be an incredible record. Let's not forget, I've lost count of how many goals he scored for Portugal, but he's by far and away the most prolific international goal scorer ever. So, yeah, it definitely matters, definitely counts.
Beth, what do you think? Obviously, footballers are kind of judged by the team trophies that they win, increasingly now by individual trophies, whether it's a Ballon d'Or or something else. You're reaching 1,000 goals sounds impressive. Do you view it as such? Is it as important as those kind of team and individual awards that these players get as well?
I think it's very important to him, crucially, and I think that's one of the reasons that he's been so great and so successful. Is he is so motivated to achieve incredible things, and if he does manage to get to 1,000 goals, which you certainly wouldn't bet against him doing, it is an incredible achievement. And I agree with Mark. You can talk about the reliability of taking the goals from the Saudi League and comparing them to other leagues in Europe and whatever, but it's still an incredible achievement, and he is an incredible athlete, and the fact that in terms of his endurance, he's able to keep on performing, and not just keep on performing, but just mentally to have that will to win, still after the career that he's had is incredible. I think ultimately team trophies to me are matter more. I think to most footballers matter more, but to him, he is someone who is incredibly motivated by those individual records, and that is part of what makes him so great.
I mean, let's be honest, you talk about the team trophies. He's won everything apart from the World Cup. Yeah. He's won, I've lost count of how many Champions Leagues he's won. He's won Premier Leagues, he's won La Liga titles, he's won Copa del Rey. He's won absolutely everything, including the Euros as well. He won in 2016. Portugal in the Nations League this year. It really is the World Cup is the one trophy that he hasn't won. And I guess, when he started his career, would Portugal ever be considered a World Cup contender? Probably not. I mean, they're probably one of the outsiders to win the World Cup next year. They could do. They've got some great players beyond Ronaldo, but I don't think we can ever judge him by whether he's won the World Cup or not. It's different with Messi because Messi and Argentina, a huge country that expects to win the World Cup. It's different with Portugal. But I think, he's got all the major trophies. He's got all the individual awards. And if he gets this as well, that would be a different level. Now, Rob, obviously, you saw him very closely during his 18 months back at Man United. First season was fantastic. Second season, less so. But, I think as time has passed, do you think his second spell at United has been judged a bit differently as it was at the time? Because obviously he was criticised quite heavily when he left. He had that Piers Morgan interview. He was very critical of Ten Hag. But as time has gone on, do you think a lot of what Ronaldo said was right and that he's been justified in his criticisms?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what's happened since he's left has kind of played into his favour a little bit. I mean, that you'll remember that one of the first things he said in that interview was that he was really shocked at the state of Man United when he came back, just in terms of the facilities and the kind of what the club were able to offer players. I think he said something along the lines of that it was stuck in the past. And A number of people have said that since he's gone. I think, Sir Jim Radcliffe in interviews has said something similar. Ronaldo said, I think recently in an interview with Piers Morgan, that he feels that he could still score goals anywhere. And I think that second spell at Man United probably proved that, because I was a little bit sceptical when he came back after that spell at Juventus. He scored all those goals at Real Madrid. He'd done it again at Juventus. And then he comes back to the toughest league in the world. And I must admit that I was thinking, well, I'm not really sure that he's capable of doing it in the Premier League anymore. And I was proved completely wrong. I mean, I just caught a thing on Sky Sports the other day with players who have gone into the 100 club, and the amount of goals that he scored in that first season back is unbelievable, really, in a team that wasn't particularly performing very well. And the one thing that I think he probably deserves more credit for than he gets is that he's kind of redefined how we feel about numbers in general. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the numbers that I jotted down before we came on here, that he's got 226 international caps and 143 goals now. Beth's a bit younger than us, Mark, but we grew up in an age where we felt that maybe 50 international goals for England could never be achieved. Bobby Charlton had 49, Gary Lineker never got there, Wayne Rooney just about got there. I know Harry Kane has reached it and gone on to 70 odd, but we're talking about double the amount of international goals that Harry Kane has got, and numbers like that. I mean, to go through a career where he's probably played 1,200 games and he's nearing 1,000 goals. We're now talking about numbers that define every other player that comes through. Obviously, I see Erling Haaland an awful lot, and if Erling Haaland isn't scoring a goal every other game, or a goal a game, he drops below the standard that's been set by Ronaldo and to a certain extent Messi. And I just think that you can't put I don't know. You can't justify that. I don't know how you go through a career with those kind of numbers, because it's going to affect everyone now through the history of football. Every striker who scores goals is going to be judged against those numbers, and they're just superhuman.